association and the credibility you get by being part of the big four and saying it opens doors. It's also argue that I followed the money coming to London because I'm earning pounds now.
Come on now,
Yeah,
sis.
definitely.
But now moving on to our second topic, which is something that we've been mentioning, SAICA, South African Institute of Chartered Accountants. I know that it is a difficult journey. And I can imagine that everyone has a different story. So I want to hear your story, how you got to find out about CA. Your father's a pastor, your mother's is a dentist.
Yeah.
So where does that come in?
And there's no accountants in our family, like aunties, uncles.
Yeah.
Okay, so initially, I had studied. I went into university with the aim of studying actuarial science.
Okay.
So I was really good at maths, and I didn't want to become a mathematician or a statistician. So I was like, I need something that brings money. So actuarial science was what was advised, and also that got the seal of approval from my mom. It was like, okay, you can. That's something that's praiseworthy and respectable. So you can become an actuary. Just backtracking. I think when I was in grade 10 or 11, so we had a guest prophet that had come to our church all the way from Trinidad and Tobago. And she was prophesying, and she said to me that I see you in some sort of career that has to do with accounting.
Wow.
And I remember that I actually laughed when she said that because I didn't study accounting and I wasn't interested in accounting in high school. So I was just like, nah.
False prophets.
False prophets. Basically. I was like, okay, we'll see. So then now I went to UCT and I got accepted for actuarial science. And the first 6 months showed me flames.
Sheesh.
Yeah, so there's this MEM 1000, MEM 1000, which is maths for actuarial scientists. It's like the hardest maths you can do at university. And for actuarial science, you needed an average of 70 to be able to pass to the next year. So the first test, I got 50. And I remember I was good at maths. So I was really good at maths in high school. So it was a big shocker for me. I was like, wow, I can almost fail because it was 50 on the dot. So I was like, yo, this is a first. The next one we definitely need to do way better to be able to to get to a 70 average at the end of the year. So then the second test, I can't believe I'm going to say it out loud, but I got 27%.
Well, welcome to the club.
27. Not even 30. So for me that I got a bit depressed as well, and I was just like shocked, and I was doubting myself, like, wow, was I ever even good at maths? Am I in the right career? So I had a bit of a breakdown, and so my older sister, she studied medicine, and she was 5 years ahead, or she had actually graduated the year I was in first year. So I was like, okay, my mom's a doctor, my older sister's a doctor, my aunt and uncle are doctors as well. So maybe I should
It's
just go
it's
that
in the
route.
blood.
Maybe it's in the blood. I was trying to be different, but no, let me stick to our strengths. So I applied for medicine, and I got in surprisingly to medicine. So I was gonna do medicine the following year, but then now I had a bursary or sponsorship rather, and they said they were not gonna pay for medicine. So I was like, okay, what else can I do? And then I spoke to an advisor, and they were like, okay, I know you've been doing actuarial science, but a smooth transition, like you can change courses into like finance.
Mm.
And something more challenging would be finance with accounting, so following the CA stream. So it would be a double major. So I
Mm.
liked the sound of that because then I wouldn't have to be boxed into I'm just doing finance and I
Mm.
have to be a finance professional, or I could do something else and become an
Mm.
accountant. And I applied for that and I got in, and I wouldn't have to like have a year back,
Mm.
held back. So I was like, okay, at least then I'll still be on track with like my peers as well. We
Mm.
can graduate at the same
Is this now second semester?
second semester.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So then second semester I changed to finance with accounting stream, and I think after the end of the year I was like, I'm doing accounting and I'm not bad at it. And then that's when I remembered that, oh,
Oh,
the prophet,
the prophet.
maybe she was onto something, maybe she wasn't so false.
uh,
So I think that was encouraging that
mm.
this is how everything just fell into place. And with the maths, because I didn't want to give up on that MAM 1000.
Mm.
So I opted for a 2 year course of maths, that same maths. So it was broken down into 2 years,
Mm.
and I really did well in that course when it
Wow.
was broken down
Mm.
in 2 years. So I was the second top from being like
Wow.
27%. I was
Wow,
getting
that's
80s and
good.
90s. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, now this seems like me. So yeah, so that's like also a testimony in
Mm.
the sense because initially I was headed the wrong direction, and
Mm.
then I was doubting my capabilities
Mm.
and my intelligence as well. And because I still stuck with that maths, even though I was now following the accounting route,
Mm.
um, God still somehow came through for me so that
Mm.
I didn't doubt my intelligence or
Mm.
walk in that doubt that I'm not
Mm.
smart enough. So yeah, that's how I ended up in accounting. So I did the finance with accounting stream, and I did my articles with PwC.
Mm.
And then after that, I wanted to follow the money. So I was thinking of becoming an
Wait,
investment
wait.
banker.
Let's
Yeah.
let's go back
Okay.
to uni
Yeah.
and articles. What were you finding difficult? What were your maybe also defining moments?
Hmm.
Because you now start with actuarial science,
Yeah.
you get to 27, and
Yeah.
then you start questioning whether you start questioning your identity, because
Mm.
most of the time when your parents are saying, "Oh, we're so proud of you because
Yeah.
you've done well," and
Yeah.
now you find yourself like in the trenches.
Yeah.
So what was difficult about your journey, or what did you find difficult in your journey, and what were some of the highlights in your journey?
Okay, like my university journey,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so it was the what I highlighted in terms of doubting like my intelligence in terms of maths, something that was quite like defining for me in terms of high school. I was really good at maths,
Mm.
and then to come to university and be humbled
Mm.
by that 27% and questioning, okay, am I really good at maths? But then on the other hand, the stats for actuarial science, I was excelling, like I was
Mm.
getting 80s in that. So it was like, maybe I'm not so bad at maths, but that had to happen so that I
Mm.
could get out of actuarial science.
Mm.
So that was that, but I was really good at maths. And also that first year, at the end of the year, somehow, when I was speaking to my course counselor, and then they were looking at my year mark, and they were like, "Oh, you were just 1% short of being on the dean's list." And
Wow.
I was like, "Okay," from thinking I was dumb to just
Mm.
being 1% shy of being on the dean's list, it meant that okay, maybe I should change the way my perception of who I am in
Mm.
university, that I'm not dumb.
Mm.
So yeah, that was a highlight, and it gave me a bit of confidence in going forward for the other 4 years.
Mm.
And then also, what else was a highlight in university? Um, I was really good at tax, and there was this one. I think in my third year, there was just this one exam where I felt like I was writing with God. It's a weird thing to say, but like when I was writing it, like none of my exams have ever been this like smooth.
Mm.
So, and I had finished really early, so that's how I knew that this was a good exam.
Mm.
So after the marks came out, they put my name on like the screen, and I think I was number three, number three or number four,
Mm.
one of the two. But then because my name was put like on the screen for the whole class to see, then now I got a bit of attention,
Mm.
a lot of attention. So from the white kids,
Mm. Okay. What type of
like, oh, who
attention?
is Grace? So firstly, after like they announced like this was the top five for that exam, people were sending me messages on like our course like
Mm.
chats. Hey Grace, can I see your exam? Like your
Okay.
script? I'm like, okay. But this was like the white guys coming to me, and then I also got a new set of like friends.
Mm.
I knew they were just being my friends for because they thought I was smart and that I
Yeah.
could help them. So yeah, people were asking me to study with them and join their study groups, which was actually beneficial for me because for me I had a lot of anxiety, even though at that time I didn't know what anxiety was.
Mm.
It wasn't so popular, but I was just always so fearful, like
Mm.
of exams and failing. And maybe because of that 27% that
Yeah.
first fail, it still was somehow with me that, hey, I have the potential to fail. So I
Mm.
always approached exams with a lot of anxiety. So having a study group that naturally came to me, I didn't have to ask for one. That was a positive, and also having new diverse
Mm.
friendships, again, that was another positive.
Mm.
Yeah, that was a highlight for sure. And
Mm.
I was also a tutor for two different courses, a different challenge, but that's a story for another day. But that was also something that put me like at the forefront because I was tutoring
Mm.
like big classes as
Mm.
well. So
Mm.
yeah.
I imagine someone maybe watching this and thinking, well, I don't have the gifts that Grace has. I'm not that smart. Um, and it doesn't seem like God is gonna magically just give me, the
Yeah.
that brain that's gonna make it or almost make it to the dean's list.
Mm.
Um, I guess what would your encouragement be to someone that does feel like that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I also imagine that even though God has given you the gifts, there is also hard work that
Mm-hmm.
has to be put in, and I think a lot of people might miss that
Yeah.
because they look at someone and be like, "Oh well, you're clever and you're
Mm-hmm.
smart. That just comes naturally," but there's a lot of sacrifice
Yeah.
that has to be made by people that do have those gifts.
Mm.
And I sometimes think the difference between you and
Mm-hmm.
probably me is someone that I'm like, oh well, I'll just see.
Yeah.
I'll do this much and that's enough.
Yeah.
But I think also that maybe fear of
Mm-hmm.
failing pushes you to get to a point where you want to know everything
Yeah.
and there isn't distraction.
Yeah.
You don't allow room for any distraction. Um, I want to tap into that hard work that has to be put in,
Yeah.
because yeah, as I said, a lot of people think they are putting in the work,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't necessarily understand the the difficulty in putting that extra
Yeah.
and going that extra mile.
Yeah. I would say so. I did during my 4 years plus postgrad, five
Mm.
years at university. I never saw myself as a smart person.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I thought I was more of average. It was just those instances where, okay, I did well in stats. Well, my mindset was that I wasn't
Mm.
smart. whereas other people thought I was smart. So sometimes I also felt like a fraud. Because I'm like, yo, you guys don't know me. I can get 27%.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I did sacrifice a lot. So I wasn't partying. So the whole
Mm,
university experience of going to parties, that was not me.
mm,
But on the other hand, I still did other things outside of studying.
mm,
I was definitely watching a lot of series.
mm,
So that was like the thing that was stealing my attention and focus was watching a lot of series. But I was still indoors, so I wasn't out. I wasn't
mm,
getting drunk.
mm,
And then also I had a lot of other activities as well. Like even at church, I would be serving, or I used to be part of the dance group. Then we would perform like outside during the week as well. So I was doing things outside. So it wasn't that I was always focused on my book and reading my
mm,
books. I didn't even enjoy reading. I didn't even enjoy studying. I was not the type of person to pre-read, and that's something
mm.
I would advise people to do. And reflecting, like if I could do university again, over again, I would probably include that, implement
Mm.
that, like pre-read before going to lectures, so that you're not lost and you don't get this anxiety of or
What's
overwhelmed,
happening?
like what's
Mm.
happening, I'm so far behind. So having that discipline in terms of like pre-reading, and then after classes finding time to then also reflect on what was learned, making summaries, all those things. But I think what's very important is, oh, okay, fundamentally is obviously your faith. Like, I
Mm.
mean, it's only God that can get you through it and will strengthen you and give you remembrance in terms
Mm.
of what you've studied. But also having people around you. Study groups is very important.
Mm.
Like, when the study group came to me, I didn't realize how much it helped my confidence,
Mm.
because you're studying together with people, you're asking questions, they're asking questions. So definitely study groups, not working alone, is
Mm.
very important. It's very important. And there's things that they would have heard in lectures that
Mm.
maybe you would have missed. So I think it's something that shouldn't be like underestimated, the importance of having like people around your study group and studying together definitely helps.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Um,
And in articles, I, I have been asked this question, whether going to the Big Four
mhm,
actually helps,
mm,
because I think they, you can sometimes think, well, the firm that I did my articles
mhm,
at would determine my future, or the university that I go to will determine my future. But I think for believers, that's something totally different, because you know that your future is not in your hands. It's not,
yeah.
God is guiding you in whatever decision that you make.
Mhm,
But how do you think that has, maybe been advantageous in where you are now,
mhm.
having that Big Four, or we don't have another experience of not being in a
The
Big
big
Four,
four,
unfortunately.
yeah.
But is there benefit to that?
Oh, I definitely think there is benefits in
Mm,
terms of just, yeah, association and the credibility you get by being part of the big four, and
mm,
saying it opens doors. It's unfortunate that that's the case, but like it really is what it
mm.
is in the accounting world, definitely. So, and also the exposure you get during your articles, your training to become a,
Exposure being the most
yeah,
important
the
word.
exposure. So obviously your big companies would be audited by the big four.
Mm,
So you get the exposure to all your like hedge funds, your banks as well, and that's where you learn quite a lot.
mm,
And also the culture in the big four. As much as I hated it, it did develop something in me in
mm.
terms of like resilience and
Yep.
not like fighting for yourself, basically, because that was the culture in the big four. You each to their own.
Mm, mm-hmm,
But also being in the big four, something that I did appreciate is that you were doing your articles with like like-minded people,
mm,
people of the same age. people that came straight from university with no experience. So you were somehow on an even playing field. So that was an advantage of doing your articles at the Big Four. But I guess also it didn't. That doesn't matter if it's Big Four, Big Five, or a smaller boutique firm. But I think just narrowing it back to the Big Four, it definitely does open doors, especially on your CV. So when employers are looking at your previous work experience, they do respect the Big Four. So yeah, if you can get in, that should be first prize for the CA route, 100%.
Yeah, if you can.
If you can.
If you can. But at the same time, yeah, just I think even doing the qualification altogether, it it opens so many doors. It opens so many doors, and I think in the midst of it, or in the thick of it, when you are going through the your articles, your failing through your university, it you get refined.
Yeah.
It's a process of refining.
Yeah.
And I think, as you said, if you don't have those experiences where you get refined, it actually makes it difficult to come to spaces like London, because
Yeah.
this is a financial hub, and no one's going to baby you. So I think for someone who is going through their articles, and I know maybe most people actually find it hard to pass the professional exams,
Yeah.
and they probably get stuck in that. I think it's very important to just remember that it is still worth it. It is still worth it, and even though it's worth it, don't base your identity on it. It will definitely open doors, and at a point where you do qualify, but not basing your identity on that.
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned that you did so many other things, that your identity was not just in making it, and fortunately for you, you had prophecy of what your future looked like. And it's something that I'm very interested about. I was studying prophets, and just trying to understand prophets, because I don't understand it.
Them.
I just write it off. But yeah, I guess to just finish up the conversation, did you follow the money? Is there money?
Yes. A bit. So I'm not even in accounting now, surprisingly. I'm in compliance. But being a chartered accountant, that's a thing that's also something that you shouldn't underestimate. There's a market rate for chartered accountants, average, anywhere you go. So when you're negotiating salaries, you always have that I'm a chartered accountant. This is the minimum I'm expecting. And this is the market average. There's the data for chartered accountants that's published that you can use as a backing to negotiate salaries. So that's a positive, because like in compliance, I wouldn't say like a compliance role compares to your accountant,
average,
financial manager role. A finance manager would definitely earn more than a compliance specialist or compliance officer. But because if you enter a compliance role with the CA designation, then now you can push up your salary in that case. So it really helps in terms of negotiation. So I guess you can also argue that I followed the money coming to London, because I'm earning pounds now.
Come on now,
Yes, definitely. But London is also very humbling, because it's very expensive to live here. So, but I think I'm okay. I'm grateful. I'm not earning so much like an investment banker would be earning, but because I'm still a chartered accountant, I am earning enough, more than enough.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna leave it there for now. I'm interested to have like career conversations, because a lot of people, I felt like this definitely after qualifying. I was like, what now?
What next?
what now? And audit seemed to be the only thing that I could do. And we've
Yeah.
both left audit since. And you just said you're in compliance. I'm in something different. And I think it's so important to talk to people that have qualified or almost at their final year and trying to figure out what is it that you could do, because you're not just stuck at financial reporting. You're not just like literally CA becomes the base. Like
base.
it literally is like
The world
the
is your
bottom.
oyster. You can do anything.
Yeah, you can do anything.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so important to just keep holding on. It's so important to keep holding on, and try to live your life in such a way that like you don't live with the regrets, you don't live with, or maybe what could have happened. And we spoke so much about like comparing your journey and comparing to what could have been. You don't know. So anything else that you want to touch on, or anything else that you want to say?
I think it's always something I always tell people at SAICA networking events, those that are still doing external audit at the Big Four, Big Five, or wherever, and they want out. I always tell them, like, in terms of just imparting knowledge, like, internal audit is something to not overlook as well, because that was after I left PwC, I moved into internal audit, and that was just a completely different experience.
And it has more money.
And it has more money, first of
than
all.
External
There's
audit.
a huge shortage of internal auditors, and the job itself is way more interesting because now you're looking at business risks and controls. So it's so process driven, and if you get an internal audit role in a company or industry that's interesting, where you can go and physically look at a process and how things are done, it's very interesting. So it's different to external audit and just looking at books and numbers, but you're actually looking at tangible things. So I think that's a good segue to get out of external audit, and in terms of your capability, it's still in line with what you'd be used to as external audit, but just more interesting. And then also just don't give up. I also wanted to give up. It's definitely difficult. Anyone that tells you otherwise, I don't know. But like it's difficult for a reason. It's a barrier to entry, but once you get that CA designation, it really does open doors. It boosts your confidence as well. Like you're walking in with, you can't tell me nothing. I'm a CA. And you can do that right here in London as well. I'm a CASA, because the CASA is the number one chartered accountant designation in the world. So push on. It's worth it. It's worth it, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me on
My
this
pleasure.
Conversation. It was really good. Learned so much, and thank you so much for joining us. And if you have been watching up to this point, please subscribe, share, and like. Had that all in the reverse order, but thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one. Bye. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next one.